work so you can play.
Hey there, MiniWarGamers. This is MiniWarGaming Owen. See, it still doesn't sound right. But I guess I haven't given you really time to answer that.
Okay.
Spending today going to paint all of my friggin' Dark Elves. There's a whole sea of them. At least all of the spearmen that are creeping around my desk. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm taking a look here, still reading the same comments that were left on that old review, because I don't have any more up there yet. More assassins. That's what I keep reading. Keep seeing this, bring assassins. Now I've explained already what I think about the assassins in another video, and they're not bad. Like, I'm sure there's a lot they can do with them, but they seem really specific on a certain task, a certain role, and I can't justify spending the points on something that's pretty much a one-trick pony. It's gonna pop out, it's gonna die. You know, I'm not even gonna go into it. I don't care for assassins anymore. I'm not gonna talk about them. That being said, got new posters. And by new, I mean old Warhammer Online posters. For anyone who actually played that game, I liked it. It was a sweet game, even before I was a fan of Warhammer, which isn't really fair because I was a fan before I played that game. But yeah, if anyone actually played Warhammer Online, Destruction, of course, playing a Shoppa or a Blackguard, because of course Destruction were better in PvP, which is what I played. And then everyone's going to say, oh no, on this server they were better and that server they were not, and whatever. But definitely one of my favorite MMOs that came out, and it was really disappointing that the population died out on that game. Because there's a good fantasy game. I know there have been other ones, like Age of Reckoning. No, wait, that's the same game. What game? No, I can't remember. It was a big RTS, or sort of. You had like big blocks of units, and you had to control them in an area. And I don't know. I couldn't get into it. I like RTS, but no, not that one. For Warhammer Online, definitely a fan of that game. Not a fan of how many of these guys there are. If anyone has painted a fantasy army, which, if you're watching this, I'm sure you have, and I'm also sure that you've painted more than I have, because you're playing something like Skaven, or Goblins, or humans, or undead, or all of the other races other than dwarves. But just one after another. Hopefully we'll see about getting a battle report or two in soon, so my Dark Elves can go and go smash. They're nice looking though. Little chainmail links. Little helmets. Or at least, I won't say that I like them more than 40k models. I like some of them more. Like Hydras are better looking than 40k models, but like on a infantry to infantry, Fire Warriors are sweet. It's a big reason why I have Tau. It's because Fire Warriors are just cool looking. Sure, they're not very good. Well, 6th edition. They're like the bread and butter now, but in listening to Tau fight all kinds of armies the last few days. So, we get to look forward to a bunch of Tau battle reports, I'm sure. If they're not out already, which they probably are. So there are a few other Warhammer games that I've seen come out that are on PC and on other systems that I've particularly liked, other than Warhammer. Like, and it was Battle March. I checked. Looked into it. Not a fan, but it's not bad. If anyone has played Blood Bowl, there's a PC version apparently. I've never played it. Didn't even know it was a game until a few minutes ago. But the ones that I really liked were the Dawn of War games and Dawn of War 2, Chaos Rising, and Retribution. They were sweet. You could play as Space Marines, Tau in one of them, Guard, Chaos, Tyranids, Orcs, Eldar, Necron in the older ones. Definitely a fan of those. Back on to fantasy. Probably gonna get Orcs after this. Once I actually get my army built, painted, assembled, ready to go. Definitely a fan of greenskins. Originally I was going to play them in 40k. I didn't because I didn't like the idea of a bunch of models and low armor saves. Which is funny because that's pretty much the way I play now. I bring Tau. Just big herds of weak units. And how I intend more or less to play Dark Elves. Large units of spearmen and crossbows with Cold One riders and chariots. Supported by powerful buffed up dreadlords and a sorceress or two. Rush in. Or rather, have my spearmen just kind of stand there while the crossbows do the work. And anything that survives the crossbow barrage will, of course, charge into me. And Dark Elf crossbowmen with shields are basically every other army's infantry for the same, well, a bit expensive, but they're also elves, so they have high initiative, high weapon skill, and crossbows to stand and shoot with. And maybe a few shades. I really want to get a few shades. Maybe get those man flayers, because they look good. If you don't know them, there's a group called, I want to say Madrid's Man Flayers. It might be something else, but basically a dark elf that went around and like he was originally abandoned in the forest, or no, he was told by his family to go out and hunt down this Northman, and he did. And upon doing so, skinned the guy and wore him like a cloak. And they made an entire regiment around that whole ideal. So there's now a group called Mandred's Manflayers, and that's what they do, is they run around and wear cloaks of their enemies. Speaking of that, there's a great story. The whole War of the Beard between the High Elves and the Dwarves was caused by Dark Elves. And the added fun to that is a buddy of mine plays High Elves, and he made a comment about how they have a banner made out of dwarf beards. There's somewhere that I read that I have not been able to find since. If somebody can tell me where this is, it'd be great. But I read that the Dark Elves had a banner that was made out of dwarves. Either their skin or the dwarves themselves. I can't remember. But if you know where that is, add a comment, tell me where, page number, book, whatever, and that'd be great. Speaking of books, I don't know if anyone is reading the Warhammer novels. I'm reading the Nagash Rise of the Tomb Kings novels at the moment, after having just read the Dwarf one. It seems alright. I like the Dwarf book. I didn't play Dwarves, but Dwarves are pretty fun. Just lore-wise. Bunch of short, drinking, endlessly hated, or endlessly angry, hairy people. And there's a story in there. What do they do? They spend the entire book trying to invade a goblin stronghold, and it's just like one thing after another prevents them from actually being able to do it. Like a Skaven invasion, they spend like 50... Oh no, that's what it is. It's he wants to avenge his father who was killed because a